Well, we get it rolling on the Krueg Show after Warrior basketball. Larry Krueger, Ryan Smith up top here, Dan Coach Emilio back in the fold, the great Carl Foster in the house. Red will be here shortly. Bay Area Ballers there, flat cap and all. Danny's got the John Deere fold. Ballers going with the pizza box, and we're off and running.
I need to grab my Warriors hat real quick.
Grab your Warrior hat. The man we haven't seen in the longest period of time is the great Carl Foster. So why don't we start right there with Carl? Carl, we love you, brother. Happy New Year. It's great to see you. How's things been? What has happened in your world since we last spoke?
Hey, they've been having me on the road, Larry. Been traveling all over the country, doing some great things, having a lot of fun. Glad to be back in the Bay, or as we call it in Richmond, where I'm from, the Yay area. And can't have a more exciting night, man. This was a fun night of basketball all around.
Well, we're going to get into a bunch of things tonight, and we've got the first chat here from Aussie Rules. He says, for Dan,
I stepped on it.
Bob Myers gave Dan's brother Steve, Coach Emilio of DVC, a shout out on last week's Steiny and Guru show on 95.7 The Game. Danny's in Arizona, so probably didn't hear Steve's shout out, but Steve might have heard it. So, Danny, what do you think? And then, of course, I got word, little bird told me that Steve and Carl were hanging out at De La Salle watching some high school hoops. Within the last 10 days or so?
Yeah, it was on Martin Luther King Day.
Nice. Who are you guys watching? Anybody in particular?
Oh, man, it was a battle royal. You had a ton of the top high school teams in the Bay Area. A few teams from out of the market came in. I mean, a lot of Division I players in the gym, tons of Division I coaches there to see players. So it was a great night out. And one of the nice things was Steve said, hey, I still look better than my brother.
Well, let's welcome his brother, the great Dan Coach Emilio, who is back with us in the fold, wearing his Warrior colors proudly tonight. Danny, good to see you. Can you confirm or deny that your brother may have been seen with the great Carl Foster? And we're off and running. Danny's muted. I mean, it wouldn't be.
Oh, hey, I had it muted. What do you know? I muted myself.
One of your best points, actually.
Yeah,
yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I actually got to see Carl there too, because I was talking to my brother at the time, and Carl happened to walk up, and my brother put it on FaceTime, and I got a chance to say hello to Carl. So that was pretty cool. And Bob Myers did give him a shout out. I actually heard it on, I think it was it Steiny and Guru? At any rate, Bob was sharing a little bit of his story about how he went to UCLA, and he was actually going to go to DVC and play for my brother. And then he decided to walk on at UCLA. And that seemed like at the time such a crazy decision, because you're going to the toughest school, but Bob actually got playing time and won a national championship there with Coach Herrick.
Wow.
He would have looked real good in the triple post that your brother ran. I mean, he did a great job with that offense.
Well, before we get it rolling, let's thank our sponsor. Special thanks to the sponsor of today's show, New York Style Italian Sausage. Phenomenal product, whether it's the breakfast sausage, the Italian mild, the Italian spicy, or the chorizo. You cannot go wrong with New York Style Sausage. Often imitated, never equaled, and they're a proud sponsor of today's show. Make sure you check them out at their website, New York Style Sausage.com. All right,
that was dinner for me 2 nights in a row. Let me just throw that out there.
Oh man, hey, those are the best.
Yeah, we're big fans of New York Style Sausage, and we'll have more announcements regarding New York Style Sausage coming up a little bit later on this week. All right, busy day today on the channel. I talked to the great Jody Mack of WIP and WFAN and CBS Sports Radio fame. I talked to the great Howard Eskin today. Got on the phone and did a nice little taped interview we're going to put on the channel tomorrow on YouTube. Howard Eskin, the bombastic one, picks the Eagles. He'd be surprised, Larry, if the Eagles didn't. By the end of it, I was just like, come on, Howard, you're making me sick. So anyway, Howard Eskin will be on the channel tomorrow. And then Ike Reese. I don't know if you guys remember Ike Reese. Ike Reese was a really good football player in the NFL. And he's been hosting sports radio in Philly, Ike at Night, for years, and he's been moved around. We connected today on the phone. I love Ike Reese, and we're buddies. So we're going to have him on taping that tomorrow from Philadelphia in the late afternoon, and we'll go live tomorrow afternoon after I come back from 49er practice. So we got that to look forward to as we inch ever closer to Niners Eagles. We're going to get to Niners Eagles. So if you're in the chat and you're sitting there, Niners, Eagles, Niners, we're going to get into it. And we are later on towards the end of the show, we'll take a video call or two and we'll put that in the chat, in the box there. And by the way, you can also check me out tomorrow night. I will be on Baller's show. Baller, we should tell people right now, if people want to subscribe to Baller's show, Baller, tell them where they can find your show and how they can subscribe.
Yeah, Bay Area Baller 18. That's one word on YouTube. I'm pumped up. I got Larry coming on. I got some segments ready to roll. It's going to be fun. That's 8 p.m. tomorrow, and that'll be Niners Eagles getting down to it. But I'd love to jump in and talk about this Warriors Grizzlies game.
Yeah,
fellas,
let's do it, man. It was an incredible win for the Warriors.
Rivalry, spectacular game. Klay Thompson, ice in his veins. Ja Morant had hit the free throw to put the Grizzlies up 1. Klay came back, laced up a 3, cash, and fellas, I got
you could hear the nets on that one.
Yeah, you could.
It was nice.
I can't stand Dylan Brooks, and I thought it was fitting, and not only because of the foul on Gary Payton last year in the playoffs, but just how he guards Steph Curry. He's always holding on to him. He's pulling him. He's tugging him all game. So I found it fitting that with a couple minutes left in the game, he got too aggressive on a Steph Curry three-pointer, fouled him. Steph Curry went to the line, nailed all 3 free throws. That was a momentum shifter. And it was good to see the Warriors clean up the turnovers because at halftime, 14 turnovers. And they average 16.5 per game on the year. So when you get to halftime, you're seeing 14 turnovers. Finished the game with 21. So that tells you they cleaned it up in the second half. But just an exciting ball game to watch.
Hey, I got a question for you, Baller.
Yeah.
You know, the 3-pointer that Steph was fouled on by Brooks, and he made all 3.
Yeah.
Brooks landed in his – Curry came down on his foot. That's supposed to be called an extra foul, isn't it? Like some kind of flagrant or something?
Yeah. You know, I didn't see
the Zaza Pachulia rule.
He landed right on it. He came right into space. I don't know why Kerr didn't call that out. That should have been 4 shots.
We might have to mute Danny for that last line. That was borderline lewd. Just think about what Danny just said there for a second. No. Let me just say this. This game, I don't like Memphis, but guys, I need a little explanation. And I know all of you guys follow the NBA probably as much or more than I do, because I'm mostly into the NFL and MLB, and I watch the Warriors for entertainment purposes. To me, it's helped me get through life having that philosophy. You know, I'm just here for entertainment purposes. But explain to me the Memphis Warrior rivalry, and we can get into what is the greatest rivalry in your guys' minds. But I don't get the Warrior Memphis one. Tell me if I'm wrong here. Warriors beat Memphis, won the title, and now Memphis is talking S to the Warriors. Am I missing something? Did I fall into a coma and Memphis beat the Warriors and won their own title? Or didn't the Warriors beat Memphis? Haven't the Warriors now swept Memphis here? Didn't the Warriors win the title?
Here's what you're missing, Larry.
What am I missing?
What you're missing is, first of all, there is no rivalry between Golden State and Memphis. In order for there to be a rivalry, you actually have to beat a team in a playoff series. The only thing Memphis has ever done to Golden State is beat them in a play-in game. One game, which did not, it had the impact of keeping the Warriors out of the playoffs because they had lost to the Lakers the previous game when LeBron hit that crazy tray ball. But the reality is, until you've beaten a team in a playoff series, it's kind of hard to talk. The problem is the Memphis players are so young that they don't really understand what the standard is for a rivalry. They're trying to create one. You cannot create one talking. You can only create one by winning a playoff series.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. However, I would say just in terms of, I mean, the NBA just doesn't have really, I couldn't really name one great rivalry going right now. So for that reason, I mean, at least the Grizzlies Warriors is entertaining. They did kind of, I mean, they scared the Warriors, and I think they kind of scared all of us a little bit in that playoff series.
Yeah, they played tough.
They're tough, and they took them to 6 games, so that's as much as anybody has. And it got a little dicey there, and Ja was out for a few of the games. But yeah, I mean, they knocked him out of the play, and it was stupid. It was like, I remember Steph had like 40 something, and then all of overtime he was just being quadruple teamed, and he just was not allowed to shoot. But I will say, I kind of like the fact that it's like big bro, like Clay, Draymond, like a lot of these guys like to talk shit. And, Curry does it kind of with his game and with his swag. But I kind of like the fact that, like, I don't know, they're just chirping. They're like when you go over and like you're going over to hang out with your buddy, and they've got like a younger brother that's like keeps trying to like join in on the game. And you're just like, dude, like, okay, like I'll appease you, but like we'll also talk a little shit back and forth. And you can hang out with us if we can make fun of you. That's kind of how it feels like to me.
I like Memphis,
I would love to see Memphis try to develop a rivalry with a team like the Pelicans. Another young team. I'd love to see them have a great playoff series and see that battle. You've got Ja Morant, who was drafted behind Zion Williamson, who probably feels like, hey, I was the best player in that draft. I really think that would be a much better rivalry. They're much closer in terms of proximity as well. The only real contrast between the Warriors and the Grizzlies is the contrast of styles. One wants to be in a more physical kind of grabby game, make the game ugly and muck it up. Another team wants to play beautiful basketball like they're playing classical music. That's really where the contrast lies. But I'm like Chris Mullins. I heard him say this earlier tonight. He just does not believe that the Memphis Grizzlies have the basketball IQ collectively to beat the Warriors in a series if both teams are healthy.
Jim Molay checks in. He says, Twitter has created a lot of faux rivalries, not just in sports, but I digress. There's no question. Jimmy, good to see you. By the way, Jimmy, the boys are getting together up in Rockland tomorrow, and Roseville, I should say. I've been invited, and I'm thinking I might go. We'll have to see. It's kind of a long ride to Roseville, but I haven't seen the boys in quite a while.
Drop me off at the water park.
Well, the reason I called it a budding rivalry is the players on the court. It really feels like there's a level of disdain between some of these guys. How much back and forth did we see going on? Right? No one on the Warriors likes Dylan Brooks, but even we know Jaren Jackson, Draymond Green, both Michigan State guys. Those guys are chirping back and forth. It really feels like on the court, these two teams don't like each other, and that kind of adds fuel to the flame. It kind of fans it for the fans. And
it's funny when I watch Memphis, the guy that I really like, that I wish the Warriors had is Salty Aldama. I mean, Aldama can shoot he can really shoot the ball.
Hey, did he fake that tonight? Did he get hit in the jaw? It looked like he faked it.
Looked like he faked it.
I think he faked it. But Santi Aldama is quite the perimeter shooter. I like that form. Yeah. I'll say this too, by the way. I mean, I've traveled this country. I've gone the highways and byways. I think maybe the most overrated big street attraction I've ever been to is Beale Street. I mean, Beale Street, I mean, there's like 19 streets in the Bay Area that are more going on right now than Beale Street at its peak. Has anybody here partied on Beale Street?
No party.
Nope.
Have gone down it to get some good food prior to going to FedEx Arena. I'm kind of like you, Larry. I think Memphis is a little overdone. You know, no disrespect to it as a city overall. I know Elvis is the biggest attraction.
Elvis is
Memphis,
there, man.
He's no longer with us, but
right.
For lack of a better way of saying it, if the biggest attraction is Beale Street, we need to take them to the Bay Area so that they could find some really good food.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you like Beale Street, there's like 19 streets in the Bay Area that you're going to like a whole lot more. And no, it's not Bradley Beale Street.
I've one more thing to throw out there. I guess maybe rivalry isn't the right term, but in the absence of the Warriors competing for championship in that 2-year absence, there was kind of a vacuum created for I guess you'd say, main competitor in the West. You know, I felt like it was early on, it was kind of like Warriors Clippers was sort of the back and forth rivalry thing. Then it became the Rockets for a long time. They never won, but they were whatever the step below rival is. That's kind of what they were. I mean, you know, they designed their entire team to beat the Warriors. They came close a couple of times. And then all of a sudden now there's kind of a vacuum with Harden and that team disappearing. And I feel like it's being filled by the Grizzlies, sort of.
Speaking of vacuum, we ought to take a look at the Western Conference standings, man. That thing is like each night everybody moves a slot like it's a horse, you know, like one of those things that you're watching your game thing and the horses, you know, where they're going back and forth and you squirt with the squirt bottle, you know, at the fair and they're moving back and forth. I mean, this is crazy. The Warriors got as high as 6 earlier. They dropped down to 10, but they're like a game from being behind, Utah, OKC, and Portland and the Lakers. They could drop down with a couple of losses. They could drop down all the way down to like 13th.
Seriously, at some point, Golden State's going to have to win 8 of 10, okay? Or they're going to be a 7 seed, or they're going to be in that play-in. They're going to have to get hot and really take over. But I don't know, guys. They're a 500 team.
They're a game and a half from the 4th seed.
Yeah, it's right now. It's anybody's league, really. But Poole 13 in the 4th quarter tonight. Ja had a good game, 29 and 13. Steph had 34 and got ejected for throwing his mouthpiece into the stands, which was like, what, Steph? Have you forgotten the rules? The Warriors were going tonight without Wiggins, who was out. I think he's sick, so they didn't have him. But what a game. First of all, how does Jordan Poole get open? That's a major gaffe defensively for Memphis. If you're inbounding the ball under the bucket and somebody gets a 2-foot, a little bunny, that's a major screw up. It was a nice pass by DiVincenzo and a great kind of seal off by Poole to take the entry pass. But Carl, you coach basketball, that can't happen, right? That play just can't happen.
One of the beautiful things, and if Steve was here, Coach Emilio, he would say that one of the things the Warriors do.
And Steve is still with us, by the way, just not on this live stream.
Not on this live broadcast.
Just want anybody who's watching this to go, what? Steve's no longer with us? All right.
But if he was here, he would say that Steve Kerr has got to be top 3 in the league in terms of his ability to have plays in what they call an ATO, after timeout. And if you notice, he used a shooter to set the screen, the first screen. When the first action didn't happen, they were still expecting Jordan Poole to come off a screen in order to go catch it to shoot a shot. And I'm sure their last nuance in their play design is for him to just slip to the basket. And he did it perfectly. To be perfectly honest, he had kind of muffed up the pass he was trying to throw to Clay because he threw it and then tried to pull it back at the last second Clay fortunately was able to catch the ball on the move and knock down a tremendous shot. But you just have to give the Warriors staff so much credit. They do a great job of designing beautiful sets to get guys great open looks.
You know who's the best, by the way? And I always bring it up, but I told him when he coached the Warriors that he was so good at this that I was going to bring it up for the next 20 years. And he used to laugh. Go ahead.
Musselman.
No,
Don
Mike
Nelson.
Montgomery.
Oh, Mike Montgomery.
Yeah.
Anybody who watched Warrior basketball remembers that Mike Montgomery struggled at times with the Baron Davis Warriors. He didn't have the best teams, and I don't know that he had the best buy-in from the players. But Mike Montgomery could coach basketball, and this guy could design out-of-bounds plays, out-of-timeouts that got layups again and again and again. It was awesome. And it wasn't just that it was like he had one play that worked. He had an array of different inbounds plays that resulted in layups. I mean, I was amazed. I used to call him the inbounds king, man. Do you remember that, Carl, how many times Montgomery's Warriors got layups off of his designs? It was incredible.
Hey, I remember going to Stanford games because I was in the AAU world at that time, and Mike Montgomery's playbook was about that thick. I mean, it was literally the size of a college football playbook. And I mean, they were just tremendous with the things they could do to create deception. You don't see that as much in the NBA because there's such a focus in the league on getting the ball to your best player. And it just shows a lot of trust. I mean, I'm thinking about somebody like Bay Area Baller. Imagine being in a situation where your coach says, hey, I don't care which of the five of us that's on the screen gets the ball. I'm going to put you in a position to be great. I mean, that has to be the ultimate thrill, man.
Oh, I'd love to run fives with this squad.
I'm ready. And my first memory of the Stanford coach that we're talking about here, what's his name?
Mike Montgomery.
Montgomery was when he was designing plays for Casey Jacobson and Curtis Borchardt. Those were two guys I remember watching at Stanford. Kind of made me a Stanford Cardinal fan just because they had a good run. I thought Casey Jacobson was actually going to be a stud in the league just because Montgomery had him running all over the three-point line, getting open looks. But Montgomery, yeah, I remember that guy. Good offensive mind.
Casey Jacobson, by the way, a very good announcer, I think.
Yes,
now.
he is.
I love talking hoops with Casey Jacobson. This guy really knows his West Coast ball, and he knows his college ball. All right, let's hit a couple Warrior issues. Why don't we start with the overarching issue? They've looked pretty mediocre, and the pieces, I don't know if they fit. They went from an early season deal where, hey, they're going to say goodbye to the three veterans, including GP2, but hey, they're going to replace them with three young guys who are lottery picks and studs, and it's just a matter of time. But then Kerr didn't play those guys, and it's kind of a weird situation now in that James Wiseman seems like the trade could be looming. He's got a sprained ankle. He hasn't played in 3 or 4 weeks. Lacob talks him up, but Kerr doesn't.
He was ready to play tonight. He was available.
He was there tonight. He was available. He was back. But where are you guys with the Warriors? Now that I'm on 95.7 The Game, I'm listening to 95.7 The Game, and the fellas are losing their mind with this team. I mean, seriously, Steinmetz is going to – I'm worried about Steinmetz. I'm worried about the health of Steinmetz because, I mean, he's really – these guys get into it, man. I mean, they can't decide if there's nothing to be concerned about and they're a title contender and they're going to be in the finals again, or if they need to make a trade and shake it up. I think everybody just kind of knows that it ain't what we thought it was going to be. They clearly missed GP2. It's not the same team as last year. I don't want to hear anymore comparing it to last year. It ain't the same team. But I get the feeling that there's some other issue going on here. And I don't know if it's Bob Myers' contract or if it's Myers' view of the roster versus Joe's view of the roster, or if Joe's trying to move his kids into Myers' job. But it's not, Myers is working in a lame duck situation. There's all kinds of talk today that he might be a general manager somewhere else. There's talk that The Warriors need size and shooting at the trade deadline. They've been connected to Malik Beasley and Peyton Pritchard. And all I got to say is, and this is how I honestly feel, I really have a hard time picturing which team in the West can beat the Warriors 4 times in the playoffs. So part of me just says, I'm not really worried. I'm Bobby McFerrin. Don't worry, be happy, and let's wait for May. And I'm not that moved by the 500. But then I said this to the guys about a month ago, and I'll stay with it. I think the Warriors have to get something out of either 2 of Wiseman, Moody, and Kuminga. 2 of those guys have got to be rotation players of significance, or they've got to move one of those guys and have one of them be a rotation player of significance, likely Kuminga, and then get something for Wiseman or get something for Moody, a guy who can be a rotation player. They need a solid rotation player out of Wiseman and Moody, and right now they don't have one. So I don't think they can win the title unless either Wiseman or Moody become a solid rotation player, or they turn Wiseman and Moody or Moody into said player. And I'll stay with that. I think they can beat teams in the West, but they will not win the title unless they make a trade and move Wiseman, or Wiseman plays well. That's where I'm at. Where are you guys at with the Warriors? Are you worried? Are you not worried? Can they win it all? Do they need to make a trade? What's your vibe on the team? Let's go around the room. Why don't we start with Rye, and then we'll go to Baller and go that way and finish up with Danny. Go ahead, Rye.
Yeah, I'd still take them out of any team in the West, but it feels a little bit more like the Niners entering the playoffs, where, I knew that there's a world where they lost to the Cowboys. I think it's about a 50-50 proposition versus the Eagles. I think it's going to be closer to that. So I think they're going to be one of the teams that at the end of the season, you're going to be like, all right, now that we've been through the regular season, how many teams can actually win the title? And you probably can rattle off 4 or 5, and they're going to be in that group. I'd still bet on them to win the West. And I'd bet on them to honestly finish strong this year. But as far as the youngins go, I just think they just need some better defensive pieces. A guy like Caruso would be so huge. I love DiVincenzo. It would be nice to have another guy out there like DiVincenzo. Poole concerns me a little bit just from, I don't know, all year. I just have not quite, he just doesn't quite have his mind and his body. It's just not quite connected. And he seemed like he was a better assist guy, distributor of the ball last year. I actually have something to to play real quick. So before, and then I'll be done. But Curry threw the mouthpiece. It was obviously because of Jordan Poole not getting him the ball. But I think that was like, that was just like the, last thing that just made him go crazy. Because there was a couple of plays where Poole wasn't looking for Curry, or he had that one where he just tried to force it to Curry and almost turned it over. So when Curry in the fourth quarter started heating up, he hit the 3, then they came down and hit a 3. Then he got that scoop layup that was super sweet. And it's like, get the ball. Like, Curry has to get the shot here. Now I'm going to play a little clip I just filmed off my phone. Look how open Curry and Clay are, and this is right after Curry just knocked down 2. Dude. Okay, you have to respect the Curry heat check. One was a layup. Here it is. So Poole gets the ball off the rebound. He just keeps his head down the entire time, goes to the rim. He does make the basket. He made a few. Curry. Look at Curry, and then look at Thompson. It was a layup. Look at Curry. Look at Thompson. Wide ass open. He has 3 defenders on him. Curry's wide open in the corner. Clay's wide open. Those are both. I mean, they're gonna make that shot. He ends up making the layup, so it's fine. But
it looks like there's 3 guys on him, but he does have an angle on the guy to his left. And when I saw this play live, he lays it off the glass, kind of it was pretty. It wasn't even a. It was a pretty uncontested layup. It looked like.
I mean, he just put on the turbo.
Yeah,
but still, I think that like Curry was kind of like a no, yes. And then when he came down and shot that deep three and didn't get it to Curry, I think that was just like, dude, what are we doing? I'm Steph Curry. Like, come on.
Well, Mark Graves says here Curry got upset with Poole for not using the clock. Because
I think it was a combination. It was because that's what, if you look, Curry wasn't like wide open for a three when he didn't get the ball. He was at the top, like, a couple steps in from the half court. He wanted to milk some clock.
One super chat here, Glass Half Full guy says $4.99 as a fan. I can't understand why the Warriors defense seems so bad. Are they doing multiple things wrong? Baller, go ahead. What's your assessment of the Warriors? I mean, they're 500. I kind of gave a little speech there. Give me your rundown of where you're at with them. Are you worried? Are you not worried? Do you think they're going to win it all? Do they need to make a trade? Where are you with them?
I'm not concerned about the Warriors. Now, it's been a roller coaster ride of a season where they have stretches where they're playing a really good brand of basketball. Then they have a clunker or multiple clunkers, like when they lost to the Pistons, they had a bad 3 or 4 game stretch. But I have a feeling when the playoffs start, the Warriors are going to turn it on. No team's going to want to face the Warriors. Now, do they have to make a move? If there's a piece to be had, then you go make a move. If it's going to improve the roster, make it happen. Now, I will say I did bring out my James Wiseman jersey. I had got the notification that he was feeling good. The ankle's right. I thought he was going to be back on the court. I put on the jersey. It didn't happen. But I also got to get my money's worth because I don't know if this kid's going to be sticking around after the trade deadline. So I said, let me get it on now before I got him.
Before he gets traded next week for Mo Bamba.
No, but you know what? I will say, if I'm talking Magic, Bol is my guy. I love me some Bol.
Yeah, we all love
Warriors
Bol.
passed on Bol 3 times, by the way, but we won't get.
That'd be a
into
very
the
popular
Allen
addition
Smiley
if somehow the Warriors got Bol.
Well, they had 3 chances to draft him, Larry, and they drafted
awesome.
Allen Smiley each.
The Kmart Wembayama.
Oh, Bol, what Bol can do at that size with the ball, and I mean, he's crazy. His daddy's looking down from above, saying, "That's my kid. That is my kid." And you know what? He's like the one guy you could say, Manute Bol's kid plays in the NBA. Go find him, but I'm not gonna tell you what team he's on. You can just watch video, and you'd be like, "There he is. I see him. That's his kid." Carl, where are you with the Warriors? Is the Myers thing a problem? Do they need to make a trade? What do you think?
Well, 2 things. One, the Bob Myers piece, and I read both of the articles, heard Bob a little bit on the ESPN broadcast. The thing I do like is that Bob has become much more public this year. He's allowed himself to be in more media-oriented opportunities. I mean, clearly, Bob is probably looking at his complete picture of where the next part of his life is going to go, staying with the Warriors, maybe looking at another NBA franchise, or maybe even taking on another whole unique experience. I mean, he's got a great resume. Relative to what a lot of people think, they're wondering if the money's going to be the driver. The money is more of a sense of pride for people that are at that point in their career where, we're not talking about it changing their lifestyle that much. It's going to change it a little bit. So I don't think Bob Myers is going anywhere. I think he will be around. There are some tough decisions that are going to have to be made in the next 18 months. And I think they need someone like Bob around in order to articulate it. The bigger question is, what's really the focus of their stars? And you have to start that off with Steph Curry. Does Steph Curry want to see the team make a trade? Because as we saw with the Lakers, LeBron James was very vociferous about making sure that management for the Lakers understood, I still got something in the tank, and if you want to keep me around, I need to see some movement. And they've already made one decision, and they've probably got another one that's coming.
I love that pick. Love the pickup of Rui Hachimura. He was wasting away, and he's got big time talent. Before we say anything else, Frank Red joins us. Frank Red with the orange shirt today. We call him Frank Orange today. What's up, Frank?
How you
we were just giving our kind of state of the state on the Warriors. Danny was going to be up next, and so jump in, Red, on this one. where are you with the Warriors? I know you watched the game tonight. Before Danny jumps in, what do you think? I mean, there's a lot going on here. I mean, yeah, they got a nice win tonight. It was incredibly entertaining. They now own the tiebreaker on Memphis. It was a great, exciting win, but Wiseman's still not playing. There's all kinds of trade rumors. Malik Beasley, Peyton Pritchard, Steph gets ejected. Myers may not have maybe in a lame duck situation. And we're I was saying how the boys at 95.7 are losing their mind over, the Warriors situation right now. It just seems like, what are they this year and last year and this year? And, where are you with Golden State? Are you not worried and they'll get it together when it matters? It's January, check back in May, or do they need to make a move? Where are you with Golden State, Frank?
I just think they need to be definitive in whatever they want to do. I mean, Wiseman clearly isn't playing because he's in the mix. A trade may happen or might not happen, but every time I see Anthony Lamb on the court, I think of James Wiseman. Every time I see somebody get an offensive rebound of one of their players, I think of James Wiseman. So they're like a great dance troupe that's just out of step for a lot of different reasons. They have challenges on the court. Defensively, they're not as tight as they were last year. But when you start hearing rumblings about Bob Myers not being here, you go, wait a minute. This is the architect of 4 championships. What's going on? So I just think that they're just out of step. I still think that they can get it back because they are heroic. Even Klay Thompson takes shots sometimes and you go, Klay, that wasn't a great shot. But nobody questions his heart. Nobody questions Steph Curry's heart. So I'm concerned, but I am not throwing in the towel by any stretch of the imagination because of their memories. They understand what it takes to win championships. I think they can put together a cohesive unit to challenge anybody in the Western Conference. But right now, I am concerned because other teams are getting better and they're just not being definitive on the court or even off the court right now.
Danny, where are you at with the Warriors?
Well, I'm not worried because this is a championship DNA roster. When these guys get to after the All-Star game, they're going to see that, okay, home stretch, they're going to turn it up, and you're going to see them start playing really good basketball. They're kind of like, I don't want to say for lack of a better word, but they're not pedal to the metal right now. Yeah. And they will put the pedal down more after the All-Star break, and then it'll be pedal to the metal when come playoffs, and they'll be ready for that. They know how to do this. They know how to prepare for the, playing into June. They're not looking to go full bore in December, January. But they do need to pick it up and play with more intensity. I'm not sure what they're going to do when it comes to a trade. One trade I would like to see possibly, and I kind of mentioned this to Rye the other day, but he didn't think it would be good because it would look bad on the Warriors bringing GP2 back. But why not Wiseman? Portland's going nowhere. Why not give Portland Wiseman and a draft pick and get GP2 back? They're not going to win with GP2, Portland, but the Warriors could sure use him, and he would be the guy that can be the lockdown defender. Imagine him and DiVincenzo out there at times playing together. I just think that's a piece that the Warriors really, really miss, and nothing wrong. I have no problem saying, hey, we made a mistake. We should have kept him, but financially it works. I mean, the trade Wiseman's making a little over 8, GP2's 9 a year. Portland gets an extra draft pick for the future, and Wiseman.
Would you really have to throw? I mean, think about that.
I don't know if you'd have to throw.
You would have to throw them a draft choice to trade James Wiseman for GP2. I first of all, I love GP2, but at some point you have to talk about value. That's not value. I mean, my God. I love GP2, and I love Caruso, and both those trades work, Danny. You're totally right. They work on Wiseman makes about 10. Those guys make about 8 to 10, so it works.
Yeah, I'm just thinking,
wouldn't that be, guys? Where are we with James Wiseman? Is James Wiseman a bust? If James Wiseman's a bust, then trade him for GP2.
No, I don't think
Trade
he's a
him for
bust. I think
Caruso.
he's like. I
But
think he's a
if
lot
James
like
Wiseman-
Trey Lance. How long do you have to develop him when you're in your championship win now? When Curry wants to win now, he's got. That's the thing. I think Wiseman's going to be excellent, but I think he's 3 years away before he. I think he's got
the Warriors are
potential to be
selling
an
this
all-star.
argument. The Warriors are selling this argument that he's not developing at a speed that they want, but also that they feel like they're holding back his development because they're not playing him and they know he needs nothing but court time. But it all sounds like they're getting ready to trade James. And I'll tell you, I'd be very nervous. I'd be very nervous to trade him for GP2. And I love GP2. And because GP2's, older and body looks like he's breaking down, and who knows, that could look really bad. I love Caruso. I'll tell you the guy that I would, the team that I would engage, and I don't think you'd probably have to give him Wiseman and Moody and maybe a pick, but I would engage the Houston Rockets because the Houston Rockets have a really young core. They're 11 in 1,000 or whatever they are this year. That they haven't won anything, and they've got that Sengun, who's just ridiculous. And in a lot of ways, Sengun would be a phenomenal ad for Golden State. And that's a guy who can play in the present. Yeah, but then the Rockets would get the upside of Wiseman, and that could be immense on the back end. And with some of the other young pieces they have, that could vault them into
I think you'd have to give up a draft pick too, possibly with Sengun, because
I would be willing to trade either Wiseman and Moody and Sengun and a pick to Houston for Sengun. First of all, I got to hear what you guys think about Sengun, because I loved him in the draft. He's very old school kind of. Carl, what did you think of Sengun in the draft? And then I got to get the rest of you guys' thoughts on him, because to me he's unique.
Two things I'll say. One, I want to touch really quick on something both Ryan and Dan said.
Yeah.
As good as those puzzle pieces are that you're talking about, Gary Payton 2 and Caruso, would you rather have either one of them than have DiVincenzo on this team? Not last year's team, this team. And the answer, I think, is no, because DiVincenzo brings an element that Caruso doesn't rebound like DiVincenzo, and he doesn't play make like DiVincenzo, but he does defend. He does a lot of little things. GP2 is a great on-ball defender, but GP2 is not going to be creating offense. And this particular team needed another guy that can create opportunities when Steph's off the floor. Relative to Sengun, I did not see enough of him prior to the draft to really have a complete evaluation, but I have a good friend of mine named Indra, and Indra was in love with the guy because he's very familiar with the homeland where he's from and had seen him a lot. And he was saying, even prior to the draft, I'm telling you, this guy's a steal. I'd actually take him ahead of James Wiseman. We all see James Wiseman's talent. I don't know if he's 3 years away. I think he's a lot closer than that. But the challenge is, as you said with Trey Lance, when you have a team that's in a championship window and your veteran players want a guy who's ready to plug and play, you cannot continue to sit and hold on to the future when your present is potentially running away from you. So I think the Warrior front office is going through the evaluation process, like Frank said. I think they're having to decide, are we going to hold on to a great asset that we think is going to eventually turn into something, or could we flip this? And people keep talking about trading Wiseman and Moody. Moody is not as valuable as people think. Moody's like a draft pick because he's another player who has not defined yet where he is. He has talent, but he hasn't defined himself. So I think it really comes down to Wiseman and maybe them giving up some draft assets that they don't necessarily want to give up. If they're going to go get a veteran, they need to get somebody maybe in the realm of a Kelly Olynyk, somebody who can stretch the floor, who can be kind of a difference maker in certain situations in their offense, because they're not gonna go get another defensive guard and give away another big because they already have a finishing lineup.
Yeah, they
definitely. What did you think about? I threw out Mo
Bamba.
What do you think of Mo Bamba?
I think they'd have a better chance of getting Jonathan Isaacs than Mo Bamba. They have to look at this from who fits their style of play, because the biggest challenge that no one wants to deal with is playing for the Warriors is like going to MIT. You have to have a different type of a basketball awareness. Even someone like Sengun, as good as he is Sengun ready to be a secondary screen setter? He's really more of a get me the ball and let me do my thing kind of guy. And he would come to Golden State and come off the bench and find out they don't run that kind of system for a big. So
I think that's why they like Poole.
It's not going to get him on the floor doing those things. And he's a ridiculously terrible defender.
You think, Carl, you think that's why the rumors for Jakob Poole, because he's in a similar system at San Antonio and he is a good screen setter?
But the challenge is Pop, who we know he's good friends with Steve. He would love to do Steve a solid. Let's be honest. Pop is ready to have another Frenchman on his team. I think if he had value of what James Wiseman does, the areas where James is slightly deficient and needing to grow is an area where in San Antonio, you need to be adept. So they have to find. Now, I'll tell you a deal that I would love to see. I don't know if it could be pulled off, particularly with Travis Slank no longer in the driver's seat, but I'd love to see them try to go get Clint Capella, because Atlanta's going to have to flip their team. They're going to have to make some mass changes because they have an issue with Trey. And as long as Ice Trey is not happy, he's going to probably want to force a trade, which means they're going to have to go back and restock and reshuffle that whole thing. If you could find a way to get Clint Capella and unload a few pieces to get him,
what about a Kongwu? How you feel about a Kongwu? Because I've always been leading up to that draft when I was looking at bigs, Wiseman was there, but I always felt like a Kongwu felt more like the Bob Myers type of big, where he's a little bit smaller, but he's athletic. He's switchable. You were shaking your head. Doesn't sound like you're feeling a Kongwu.
Well, the reason I don't feel it, because I don't think they're going to come off of him. He'd be excellent. But once again, he's a young player. I mean, he's about the age of James.
Yeah. What about John Collins? Were you talking Atlanta? Collins?
He's got an ugly contract. Nobody wants that contract.
Big contract, not a thinker. He's a doer, not a thinker. And they're going to want a guy who's a thinker. I just don't see them being able to trade for another young guy unless that guy had some warts that the team that he's with doesn't want to keep.
What about Slow-Mo?
Who is going to be a really good NBA player. He's kind of in that range of the young fella in Miami.
Duncan Robinson?
No, not Duncan.
Hero?
Kessler?
No.
He's with Utah, right?
Who's the 6'9" big on Miami?
Bam.
Bam.
Yeah.
Oh, Bam.
That's who a Kongwu is kind of like. So they're not going to make a deal for him. Now, if they wanted him, they could have drafted him, but they thought James could be that same type of player with much longer length.
What about Sacramento? Eric L says, what about Rashawn Holmes? Rashawn Holmes was just, he's a veteran big man who is just mired. Mike Brown is just said, you know what? Take a seat, big fella. This guy played a lot last year. He doesn't play ever.
He surprised me last night, though. I think I watched Sack last night or the night before. I have newfound respect for Mr. Holmes, because I tell you what, for a guy after literally sitting on the bench for 25 games, he came in the game a couple of nights ago, and he really mattered. He was springy. He was on the defensive board. He blocked shots. But he's kind of a role guy, even though he started for Sack several years. Wiseman is tough, man, because I don't think he's a bust at all. I don't. I also think
I don't think he is either.
I think that there's some ego involved going on. There's some push and pull going on. And at this point, if it's almost like, they want to move him, but the Warriors are such a highbrow, high successful organization, they don't want to look bad. So they're trying to hold out and swindle people, professionally speaking. And people don't want that to happen. With regards to draft picks, the Warriors will never give up a draft pick because they're so good at drafting players. So that's out. They're never going to do that. The one interesting thing that I see, and I don't know if it's going to happen, He's not quite what the Warriors need, but a Wiseman, Patrick Williams trade, player for player, get another role big guy. Although he's starting to make shots to Chicago now. But I know that Chicago has some interest in Wiseman. I mean, I feel that personally. So keep your eye on that, you know.
Would you, if Chicago knocked on the Warriors' door and said, we'll give you Caruso and a pick for Wiseman, are you making that trade, Red?
No.
I
I'm not
don't.
making that trade either.
No way.
I can't put him on the floor enough.
No.
Right.
But who's he going to play in front of?
Yeah, but think
Patrick-
about
Patrick Williams, a Wiseman, and maybe a big. I'm kind of thinking that because Patrick Williams, I know he's going to be a player for you. How good, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I know he's going to be a player. But Caruso and a pick for Wiseman, no way. I wouldn't do that.
I wouldn't do it either.
So what do you
It's
think
all-
the actual issue is here? Do you think it's between Lacob and Myers, that Myers would like to maybe trade Wiseman, but Lacob does not want to trade Wiseman because he wants to build for the future as well?
I think everyone says that. Everyone wants to plug James completely on Joe Lacob. I believe there was a confluence of guys in their inner circle who like what James brings to the table in terms of his gifting, but there's a difference between a gift and your skill and then your ability to be able to apply it. He's still learning how to apply it. We saw the light flick on when they played Memphis on Christmas. We saw the light flick on when we saw him early in his career in terms of some of the things he could do physically. But it's the consistency and getting down and dirty, just living on the defensive and offensive glass, setting great screens, being able to pass with either hand, all those little nuanced things that they brought in a special coach to help clean up. They're seeing movement there, but they need a guy that can produce right now. Can you imagine if the Warriors could have got the young man out of Washington that the Lakers picked up?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hachimura.
They were interested too.
There are a lot of teams finding guys 6'10" to 6'11" that can play and perform. We saw one tonight in Memphis. The Warriors need to find a guy like that. If they could get a guy like Richaun Holmes and he could fit their intellectual style, but guess what? Steve can make one phone call and find out, does he fit that? Those are the kinds of
also
things
you got to
that
pass
we're
in
having
this
to think
system.
about.
You got to be able to pass. So that's one thing. I mean,
Does Ibaka have anything left? He's not playing at Milwaukee, and they say that they want to move him. Does he a fit?
he's a big man who can shoot.
I mean, maybe for playoffs, but that's about it.
That's what you're
How
going to
about
need
Miles
him for.
Turner? Jaguayo says donation here. What about Miles Turner? Good defender, good rebounder. He's got free agent at the end of the year. That's the thing. You trade a ton for Miles Turner, and he walks at the end of the year because you got an ugly tax bill. And then what are you doing? I mean, you spent all this time to build, and now you've just basically, went for it all this year. I don't know. It's a weird. They're in a weird situation because on one hand, Joe's talking about the two timelines because he's thinking about filling this incredibly pricey arena. When I went to their arena the first time, guys, I thought to myself, the Warrior business people have essentially, with the building of this opulent palace, because that's what it is. It's an opulent palace that they're kind of calling the bluff of the Warrior basketball people. They're basically saying, you know what? We dare you to, put together a team and have it continuously at a pretty high level to pack this house because 3 beers are going to cost you $60 and it's just a very pricey place. So nobody's going to go there if the team's totally garbage. So in some ways, by having such an awesome building, they've kind of put Joe in that I need the two timelines because I can't drive this franchise off the cliff in 2 years and have a ghost town. So I got to have the two timelines, but it's not necessarily serving Clay and Steph and Draymond well. And it doesn't, to me, normally these guys would be like, an organization be like, we're going to do anything in our power to get one more key piece to get this team over the top and win one or two more rings with the original group. But they're kind of like, hey, we got this group, we got that group, we got today. We're kind of satisfied because we won the title, but we got the future looming. So, I mean, it just seems like there's a lot of agendas going on here. And I agree with Red and with Danny. I don't know. My sense is that Wiseman can play, and that they just can't get out of their own way enough to let him out there or fit him in or whatever. The failure's on them and not him. I'm pretty sure he's going to go somewhere and play well. I think he needs to lose a few pounds. He's a little slower than he was initially, but other than that, I think he's got a future. But it may not be here. So this to me is the big question. That there's rumors that they're going to keep Kuminga and Wiseman and Moody past the deadline, and then there's a lot of indications
when is
they're
the
going to move
deadline?
Wiseman.
February what?
February 10th, I believe.
10th.
So we get this one too. So season starts after the All-Star break. Schedule is soft as you know what. Jim Molay says, calling it now. C. Foster Freeze gets best stash ever on Krueg Show.
Yeah, on the inaugural maybe we should do the Krueg Show awards like around we should figure out the day that we all started. It's gonna be somewhere maybe before Warriors playoffs. We should do the Krueg Show awards.
I haven't seen Carl without the stash in a while. It's been a while, Carl. You've been rocking the stash for a while.
Hey, I'm trying to keep my wife. I've got a young
The
wife.
ladies love the stash.
Hey, throwing this out there. So we're only going to be going, everyone, for an hour and a half tonight. We're trying to keep it tight. We got a big day tomorrow, but we did want to do video calls. So I don't know when we're going to be hitting commercials, but I wanted to just alert the chat that we're going to be taking video calls. I'm going to send in the link, and people can start lining up in the green room, and maybe 10 minutes from now or so, we may get into some of them.
Can I throw out a question, Larry?
Yeah, absolutely, you can.
If the playoffs started today, and I want to start with my man, my youngster, Bay Area baller, who would be your top 9 Warriors if no trade is made? Then you get to give me a bonus guy that this guy will play in certain series, but not play much in others. Who's your top 9?
All right.
I mean, 9. I feel like playoff series, sometimes you get down to like an 8, man, like 8, 9
I'm
guys.
gonna give you 9 because they're gonna play 9.
Yeah. So obviously you got Draymond, Steph, Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole, Kevon Looney, which Kevon Looney moving out of the starting lineup, that's a different conversation. That's 5. All right. Jonathan Kuminga, Larry, you were speculating, which one of the youngsters is going to contribute. Jonathan Kuminga absolutely is going to contribute. I thought he was really good tonight. Had a couple sweet dunks off the dribble, a nice tip in, and Kuminga's got some underrated vision. This guy makes a pass, it feels like, every game that's like it's a tight window pass, kind of bounce pass, thread it through some defenders' arms. So Kuminga's going to be in there. That's 6, if I'm counting correctly. Dante DiVincenzo, he's a shoe-in. And I can't tell you if that's 7 or 8 there, fellas. But
well, you got your starting lineup. Let's just say the starting lineup is Steph and Klay and Wiggins and Draymond and Looney. Those are your starting 5. Obviously, those guys are all there, plus DiVincenzo.
Yes.
Plus Poole, so that's 7. The top 7 are really easy. Then it's just a matter of who's your final 2. Who's 8 and 9. And for me, I actually would not try to keep forcing the Wiseman thing if they don't believe he can fit in. I actually like the coach's kid Baldwin. I think he could play some minutes. Why? Because you're at the end of the day, you're going to play best when you play pace and space. And he can space the floor and hit an outside shot. So I'm considering on this team, I think there's a need for an outside shooting big, and I'm giving Baldwin some run in the second half of the year. And based on if they don't make a trade, he's in my rotation.
And my guy to round it out, my guy's Anthony Lamb. everyone knows I'm the high guy on Anthony Lamb. I say it every week. He was out there again tonight. He didn't nail his threes, but he did get to the rim, had some crafty finishes at the rim. I think he's a solid defender. He's in the right spot at the right time. He keeps his guy in front of him more often than not, makes the shot difficult on the opposing player. I like Anthony Lamb. And right now, I got him as whatever, my 8th or 9th guy in the playoff rotation.
And so let me just jump in real quick. That's where I'm like, I would love if instead of Anthony Lamb, it was Alex Caruso, because they need one more good wing defender. When you look at this roster, it's like Wiggins, Draymond, but Draymond's not always guarding the wings. DiVincenzo, it's kind of like crickets after that.
Well, and Clay can still guard. Clay can
still guard, but not nearly to the level that he used to be. Like I would say he's about, honestly, I don't know if this is disrespectful, but I feel like he's about what Steph is as a perimeter defender right now.
All right. I'll go with the 5 starters with Looney in the starting lineup, then 3 off the bench for your 5, 6, 7, and 8 in any order. Poole, DiVincenzo, and Kuminga. So there's your 8. Your 9th guy, I believe, is going to be JaMychal Green is going to be in that rotation. I think he's starting to come around. His shot's starting to look good, and he's a guy that can get some rebounds down.
You think his shot is looking good? I think he shot 26% from 3 last year.
He's starting to make some threes the last couple games he came back. His free throws he's making. He's a guy that, is a springy guy down there. He's kind of, they're going to need guys that can defend and get boards. A guy that I don't know if he'll be, I think they have him on the roster because I think they want to play in certain situations, certain teams, 8-10 minutes a game is Iguodala in the playoffs. I think that's why he's on this roster is, he started to play, that hip kind of giving a little trouble again. They're going to kind of baby him along, but I do think they have plans for him because he's like a stabilizing force with the second unit. He gets guys to run the offense. And, he looked okay when he was playing for a couple of games. It looked like he still had some bounce. And then, you look at the guys that are not going to play and you wonder what they're going to do with those guys. There's your Wiseman and Moody. Lamb, is he going to take a roster spot? A guy I really like, but he's in that extra position where they have too much in the DiVincenzo Poole. I like Ty Jerome. He's a guy that plays championship basketball. He knows how to play. I just don't know if there's room for him, but he's a smart basketball player and he's gutsy.
I'm gonna throw a trade to you guys that I like. You tell me if you would make this trade. Now, I told you I like James Wiseman, but I also am sensitive to the fact that I'm pretty convinced that he's not going to be able to be in their rotation this year because I don't believe they believe it. There's too much development there, not enough games. He's not progressing fast enough. What would you make this trade? Would you trade James Wiseman to Detroit for Nerlens Noel and Sadiq Bey?
I don't know if you'd get that.
Nerlens Noel, it works salary wise, right? Nerlens Noel makes about $8 million. He's just a defensive player. And Bey, there's talk that they may move him. Why? Because look at that team in 3 years with Ivy and Cade, and they might take a flyer on Wiseman and give you 2 useful pieces, and you may be able to win a title if you added those 2 guys. A little bit more defensive player that could be in your rotation, and a little bit more proven wing who could guard 3s and 4s and hit big shots and be rugged. I don't know. To me, that's the move. If I don't love the idea of, I really don't like the idea of Jakob Pertl or Malik Beasley or some of the things I've heard.
Yeah.
Some of these terrible trades I've heard rumored. Miles Plumlee and all.
I don't know if Noel fits the Warriors.
I need some good rotation player, and at least in Sadiq Bey, I'm getting a really good a player that I think is a really good player who's also has a basketball IQ that can fit in on this with this franchise.
My only challenge with Sadiq Bey, I mean, I like him a lot, but I think that he probably is looking at himself thinking that he's a starter.
Yep.
And he probably wants starters money, and that's probably not going to happen with the Warriors. But he's an asset. He's a guy who can help you. He's a professional. So he's a nice piece back. Nerlens Noel, I think, is going to probably be a free agent here or there. He's going to try to chase the money wherever he can get it. So I think he's kind of a short-term guy. So you're looking at Wiseman versus Sadiq Bey. And, he's not a superstar, but he's a serviceable player. I think what you are alluding to, Larry, and I'm with you, develop the guy. Because there aren't any really good trades out there. Jonathan Isaacs, that dude is an absolute stud. And if you can get him, you get him tomorrow, and everybody knows it. But
you love him that much? I saw him play the other night, and it was his first game in a long time. He had 10. He's got a nice little face-up game.
He's legit. That dude is legit.
Who does he remind you of, Red? Who does Isaac remind you of?
Because
he's had some injuries.
Kind of a Paul George type player offensively. Probably doesn't have quite the handle, but he can stroke it. He's athletic. He's a good guy. He's a team guy. He played for Hamilton down at Florida State.
Leonard Hamilton, yeah.
Yeah,
that means he knows how to play D.
Right. No. This guy can play, man. He really can. And I think the Warriors would love to have him if they could get their hands on him.
He's smart. He's got a true high character. Yeah. I think the thing that is really interesting, they've also got the buyout market, which might be a better fit for them.
Yep.
I'm like Red. I'm a huge James Wiseman. He could become something guy. Always have been. I clearly understood the logic. Logic is different when you actually know more about a kid and you've had more exposure to watching him play. Most of us only saw snippets of James in college, and unless you watch the AAU market, you really didn't see him before that. And his physical talent just stands out. Even the Warrior players know that, but you have to learn how to play. I don't think there's a trade they're going to get where they're going to get the value for what they think his long-term benefit could be. Somebody's talking about Nikola Jokic or Vucevic. The challenge with guys like that is you're asking a guy who's making $25 million plus to come in here and live off scraps. Guys like that don't want to live off scraps. He doesn't want to ring that bad.
I've got a guy. I don't know. I would love to hear what you guys all think you'd have to give up to get him. Matisse Thybulle. He's got 1 year left on his deal. He's making $4 million.
Great defender.
Currently, he is being absolutely buried at the bottom of the bench by Doc Rivers. He's barely getting any playing time. And next year's the year where he has to get, he has to get his bag. And the Sixers are desperately trying to get under the cap. Apparently, they're like $2 million over the cap. So, you don't have to send much over in order for them to get under the cap. And if they don't want to pay him, maybe it's worth sending a Moody and a pick or something like that for Thybulle.
Yeah, that actually might not be bad because Moody and Tybulle's salaries do match up, and then Tybulle's going to love it because he can actually get minutes on this team. He could be a lockdown defender in playoff series and really show out. And then, you know what? The Warriors probably aren't going to be able to sign him, but it's worth it if they get another championship.
But here would be the question. We may like what he can do defensively, but just like in Philly, he doesn't bring anything offensively.
Right. You don't have to guard him.
And the question becomes, whose minutes does he take? The Warriors would rather have baby
Lamb.
Jay Crowder in Anthony Lamb than him, because although he may not be as good of an independent defender, he's a smart team defender, and he can knock down an open look, and he knows their system. I don't know if Thibault fits, because the style of basketball in Philly is really just give the ball to James, give the ball to Embiid, everybody else get out of the way. It's a tough fit to pick up players, because the Warriors need some time to give those guys an opportunity to learn how to play their style of basketball. And it's hard to kind of compare it to certain other teams where they play star basketball.
It would have to be, to me, any deal involving the Bulls would probably have to be some massive deal involving DeRozan and Wiggins and picks and all. I mean, I don't think the Warriors want to trade Wiggins, but I don't see a Caruso Wiseman straight up. But if you could somehow, DeRozan's a superstar that's languishing on this team that's not going to win a title. And he is a West Coast kid. He wants to come West, whether he wants to be with the Lakers, the Clippers. He's an LA guy. I'm sure he'd rather be West. DeRozan's like the ultimate mid-range sniper. But there's been whispers that the Bulls may move DeRozan. Now, if you're going to move DeRozan, now I'm willing to discuss things that I wouldn't be willing to discuss without him. That one's the interesting one. It would change the dynamic of the squad. You'd have to get rid of there'd be all kinds of people moving in a deal like that. But what do you guys think of DeMar, getting out of Chicago?
I mean, DeMar DeRozan's a big-time talent. You said it. He's got a phenomenal mid-range game. Defensively, I think he's solid. He's got good length. He's still super athletic. I know he's getting older, but the guy he's still an athletic freak. But I did want to touch on a couple of your guys' trade proposals. Matisse Thybulle, if it's cheap, okay, because he does have one talent he can hang his hat on, and that's his defense. As far as the Hornets trade with Saddiq Bey,
the Pistons.
Pistons.
Excuse me, the Pistons trade with Saddiq Bey. I'm leaning no. I'm saying no. In fact, I think I would probably prefer Jakob Poeltl to that. I know you guys aren't Poeltl believers, but Poeltl,
his game's just so ugly. I just can't stand those.
He's a walking double-double.
He's a better version of Bielitsa.
Walking double-double. He's averaging a block and a half a game. And I will say, man, but I don't want to give up on Wiseman. Wiseman has a lot of talent, but here's the thing. Here's my spiel about Wiseman. It's the mindset, right? When the ball goes up, when his teammate shoots the ball, he's not wired to go get it. Like I've seen multiple times, and I've clipped it. I had to go back and rewind the TV, and a shot will go up. He's at the elbow. And instead of attacking the rim, attacking the offensive glass, he's getting back and he's going the other way. He's getting back on defense. And that's not how I think the big man should be wired. It should be any ball that goes up. That's an opportunity to hit the glass, an opportunity to gain possession of the ball. And so I really want to see James turn that around, when he gets back on the court. Every shot that goes up, hey, go get it. Because
he's not a very good rebounder.
He's not wired that way. And he's a bad screen setter. It's like he barely makes contact with guys when he's setting screens on them.
So let me ask you a question. The Warriors have never developed an interior player. Never.
It's true.
I mean, Looney is
Green.
Is good because he's
Clyde Lee.
I mean, Looney, we all love Looney, but he is what he is, and he's a winner, he's a champion and all of that. But how many big guys do the Warriors have in the G League that they have never developed? I mean, as a big man myself, as a coach, I watch the game from a perspective, what is this guy doing? I see the development with Jordan Poole. I see the development with Steph, with Clay, with all of these guys. Even DiVincenzo. DiVincenzo's never played better in his life than he's playing with the Warriors right now. Some of that is coaching, but they have never developed a big guy. His footwork is not great. He doesn't shoot a jump hook. He doesn't box out authoritatively. So, some of that is on them. They got to own some of that stuff. I know they got a big man specialist. I got to see it. I don't see it.
I know. What's this? The guy who worked with Jokic. I mean, that guy's stealing at this point. My God, develop something, right? I mean, the fact of the matter, whether it's on James or whether it's on them, it's on somebody. He's not playing. He's not
been available though. He's down most of the time. That's been the tough thing.
This last one, I didn't see the injury because it was in practice. He rolled an ankle. He didn't touch the court for 3 weeks.
Yeah, Wiggins.
More.
Larry, what do you think? What do you think's worse, James Wiseman's ankle roll or Patrick Mahomes' ankle roll, who's suiting it up this time?
Yeah. Could you imagine if he had hurt his ankle with like the way Mahomes did? I mean, he'd be out for like till 2027. Mahomes is playing this weekend, by the way, with a high ankle sprain. That's just crazy.
That's
absolutely crazy.
Going to be interesting to see.
All right,
you got two QBs.
It's already 11:37. We're only going to midnight tonight. Why don't we do this, guys? Give me your guys' thoughts on Niners Eagles. What do you think we're going to see? I know you guys are all football fans. Niners Eagles. I've been talking about it all week. We're going to talk more about it, I'm sure, over the next few days. What's the spread, Rye?
Believe it's it's 2.5. The look ahead line before the weekend, before everyone saw Hurts was healthy, was Niners, or it was going to be a pick 'em, and it opened Eagles -1.5 a lot of places, then went to 2, now
it's -2.5 now.
I'd take if you're going to take the Niners, I wouldn't take them so much on the spread. I'd go ahead with that. If they're going to lose, they're likely to lose by a field goal, then you lose. So I would take them on the money line if you're going to take the Niners.
Or I'd tease.
Take the points, build up some points.
Niners tease. How does it lose?
It really comes down to two things. We know Philly's going to try to pressure the pocket. Fortunately, the 49ers have a quarterback who has some escapability, and then he has the moxie to know how to throw it out of bounds when he has the opportunity. Let's just say
even down to the second.
and if the guy on the sideline didn't touch that ball and let it go to hit the ground, the clock would have expired.
Let's just give Philly 4 sacks. The question becomes, do the 49ers get 4 plays of 25 plus yards? Can they get the ball either downfield, because a couple of times Purdy has had receivers breaking open deep, but he held on to it just a tick too long and they didn't get the pass completed. If they can get 4 25-plus chunk plays in mediocre weather in those conditions, it doesn't matter if their pass rush is dynamic because they're going to find a way to run on Philly. Then the question becomes, can the 49ers do what they've done so well this year? If Philly does a great job pressuring the quarterback, and we know the 49ers do a very good job of that, they're not as good as Philly, can the 49ers turn over Jalen Hurts? Because they're going to need to get a fumble or two, get a tip pass, something that's different, block a field goal, have a punt return or something. They're going to need some kind of a bonus play to help them because Philly is so good on both sides of the ball. And if Philly doesn't make mistakes, they're going to be tough to beat.
Yeah,
Red.
Red.
No, Ryan, go ahead, Ryan. I'll go after you. Go ahead.
I just wanted to I was just going to quickly give my thoughts on just like the key to the game for me. It's just Niners. I really think it's the beginning of this game is going to show us so much because a lot like the Warriors, in their third quarter, the Eagles all year have been just a dominant first half team. They've been putting up like 90% of their points in the first half, specifically the second quarter. And I think that when you look at last week's game versus Dallas, what was different about the Dallas game the previous year is that the Niners got up early. And so all of a sudden, I think that is when the Niners defense is completely different when they're playing from in front, and they can really just get after the quarterback. The other team has to pass. So I think it's going to be critical that the Niners, at the very least, keep pace in the first half. And I think if it's tied in the first half, or if the Niners are leading at halftime, I think the Niners win the game.
This is going to be, well, it sets up to be a classic. Last week's game, to me, was won on the sidelines against Dallas. Sirianni is a better coach than Mike McCarthy. And we can go back to the second quarter. Everybody knows if Bill Parcells is coaching the Cowboys, Dak never throws that ball. He doesn't give him a chance to get a pick. And Sirianni coaches Jalen Hurts. As smart as Jalen is, as judicious as he is with the football, Sirianni still coaches him. If they're in those pressure-packed situations, they're going to run the ball. And the 49ers are a physical team. Philly is a physical team. I think it's really going to come down to a field goal. It's going to be a close game because these teams don't make mistakes. So it comes down to the fundamentals of the game. And I think on the sideline, you got two architects there. I can't wait to see it because I think it's going to be a 24-17, 2017 type ball game.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a surprise
facts.
player. Watch out if you end up seeing Mason get on the field. I can see him in
running
bad
backs
weather,
dinged up,
getting some touches.
Actually,
and it is a bull in a china shop.
Actually, the weather working out really favorably for the 49ers. It's supposed to be the warmest day of the year. It's supposed to be 52 degrees Sunday with, overcast skies, but pretty much similar temp what they would be playing at in Santa Clara on a night game. So I imagine kickoffs at 3:00. So 52 is probably the high, or 1:00. So it's probably going to be in the 40s, mid 40s at kickoff. And, maybe, I don't think you're not going to get any super, super cold weather, which is great for the Niners. So and they're used to Bermuda grass, which is what they play on.
Digging into the grass.
Look at you, Danny.
It's going to be an absolute slugfest.
If I could give points, if this was like around the horn,
Yeah.
Danny would get like lots of points for Bermuda grass.
Yeah.
Carl, did you know it was Bermuda grass?
I did not, Danny.
Dan, I had money that it was Kentucky bluegrass. The fact that it was Bermuda, I thought there was a touch of rye. Maybe it was a little bit of rye. And I'm not talking about rye Smith. I'm talking about rye grass. Look at that. Gabe on the chat says, meteorologist Dan, LOL.
Yeah. Remix Channel says, Mason, great take. I just think it would be hilarious if Mason got on the field, because it's like all year we've been, at least, Lair and I in the press box were bitching like, holy shit, like the Niners are up, 10 points, 14 points in the fourth. Why are they running McCaffrey? Why don't you put Mason in the game? And so
who's going to be here's your MVP for the game. McCaffrey. Kyle's going to bring him out. Kyle is going to bring out some unbelievable plays for Debo and McCaffrey. This is the game you save all these plays for your playmakers, and you let your playmakers win this game. And I'm looking for some sweeps from Debo. I'm looking for some, with that pass rush, I'm looking for some quick screens to Debo and McCaffrey, and let them run. And let them get into that.
Even the Kittle's middle screen.
Yep. Exactly. Another screen. Kittle middle. Yeah. Kittle could be a check down guy Sunday instead of McCaffrey a lot. You're going to see.
Is McCaffrey going to throw a pass?
Might need to.
Who's going to throw a pass?
Where's the trick plays at? No trick plays last week.
Ayuk's going to throw a pass.
We might see something.
It's hard to do a lot of trick plays against great defense.
If
you're going to have one, you may want to have your one in your back pocket. Second quarter, we need something to get us going. but you got to be careful because trick plays end up as turnovers.
On that note, just a little betting advice out there. I heard a great take on the Chiefs game. A lot of times in these bigger games, they expand the prop market, and usually there's over 2.5. Or usually it's like will a non-quarterback throw a pass, and it's usually like some big plus number. In the Chiefs game, bet on that because Jet McKinnon, former quarterback, somebody else they were saying was a former quarterback, another one of their weapons. So yeah, I think that's coming out, especially with Patty Mahomes hobbled.
This is interesting. Bruce says something to watch. Hurts doesn't do well against the cover 3, the single high safety. Niners play a lot of cover 3, about 36% of the time. I'm going to say Hufanga is going to be a key guy in slowing down Jalen Hurts on first and second down. I think Debo is going to be a key factor for the 49ers. And I'll say this, I think the MVP of this game, when it's all said and done, and maybe I talked to him this week, and he's got a different look in his eye, and I know how important this thing is to the guy. Tayshaun Gibson has stepped it up, and he, I think, is going to pick off a pass or two. I think the 49ers, I think Joy, whatever, who was bashing Brock Purdy today on was it television, Fox or whatever it was, she's going to be eating her words.
Joy Behar?
No, it wasn't Joy Behar. It was
Joy Taylor.
Joy Taylor. She basically said Brock Purdy did nothing last week, and she was going on and on and on about Jalen Hurts. I'll say this: Brock Purdy's going to outplay Jalen Hurts, and Jalen Hurts is going to turn it over to Tayshaun Gibson. Debo's going to have a big day, and I think the Niner linebackers set the tone. And Niner linebackers and Hufanga, I think, win on first and second down against Philly's run. And you know what? The real reason I think the Niners are going to win, I think Kyle Shanahan is a better coach than Nick Sirianni. And I think Shanahan understands that this is his best shot at the ring. It's Brock Purdy with this defense, with this collection of talent. I expect Kyle Shanahan's game plan to be the best game plan of his life. And I think the 49ers are moving on.
I've got another thought on this, on defense with D'Amico. Wouldn't be surprised if we see a little wrinkle where Womack comes in and kind of plays maybe a little nickel, and Jimmy Ward shadows Jalen Hurts and maybe you take another lineman out and you go with an extra back just to see, because you got to stop that run game of Hurts. And I know that Jimmy Ward would like to put a lick on Jalen Hurts' shoulder.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yes.
Yeah, he's going to have to spend some time in that slot because Smith is dangerous when he goes in the slot. There are just so many combinations of things. One guy I want to see have a big game is Third and Jennings. Because he finds a way. He's a great run blocker. He's a instigator. He's kind of the Warriors version, or excuse me, the 49ers version of Dylan Brooks. He's in a scrap every game. And he could intimidate somebody, maybe get somebody to take a swing at him. They need something that's so different. And one of the benefits the 49ers have is they've been at this point before. NFC Championship game with a Super Bowl on the line, and they've won on the road in the playoffs. Philly's not won on the road yet. Philly has not been in this position in a while. That could easily end up being a little bit bigger than what some people think it is.
Yeah, the other thing, Sal Paolantonio, how do you pronounce it? Paolantonio was saying today that Hurts is still favoring that shoulder.
Oh, yeah.
And he's falling on his left shoulder. And they are so all these design runs, he's going to either go down. He's not going to try and, run over. So they got to put a lick on him. And I know from listening to Jimmy Ward in the locker room, he says when the guy's a running quarterback, he don't like him. And he says he's looking to hurt him.
Yeah, I'll give you another guy that I think is going to fire a huge effort. Charles Amenahue.
Yeah.
Oh,
Charles
Thank
Amenahue,
you.
because Charles Amenahue wants that dialogue to change. And Charles is a hell of a player, and he's playing incredible football. Shanahan said today that he will be playing on Sunday.
And
You
what
can have
number
your
does he
opinion
wear?
as to whether he should play or not. But I'll say this.
94.
I
right?
think Charles is going to play incredible football because he's playing incredible football. And this is going to, I'm sure he's got a lot of rough, feelings this week, and a lot of energy, built up that I'm sure he'd love to get loose on Hurts on Sunday. So I say a many who wreaks havoc in the backfield.
And there's another 94 who used to play for the 49ers, who used to wreak a lot of havoc both on the field and unfortunately off from time to
Haley.
time.
Oh,
And
Charles
he found a
Haley.
way to put
Someone said
5 rings
Stubby.
on his finger.
Yeah.
Charles Haley.
Yeah,
Hey,
that's right.
we're gonna pay the bills here, and so I'll let you guys out right here because
well, do we also have a guest in the green room who's been waiting?
okay, we'll
Great-
get to our
great
who's our
one.
guest.
Terror Dome, baby.
Okay, we'll get to Terradome in just a second, but first I'll let people out who want to get on with their night because it is 5 minutes to midnight. And
Yeah, almost 1 o'clock here. I'm gonna have to get rolling soon too. I got to get up for work. So
Danny's got a paper
Work,
route,
what's
so
that?
we got.
What's that, Danny?
what's that?
What's work?
Oh man, I got to serve my clients.
He's the doorman at Cheetahs on
That's right.
North Camelback. 2-drink minimum. Tip your waitresses. All right,
Gentlemen,
Danny,
it's
we'll
always a
talk to you
pleasure.
soon.
Always a pleasure.
Frank,
Thank
we'll
you.
talk to you soon.
Take
Have a
care,
great
brother.
night. Always
right.
great to talk to you.
You guys
Ryan, hey, I need Danny's number. Text me.
Oh, I got you.
There we go. Carl, we'll talk to you.
Go
Have
now.
a good night.
Nice talking to you, Carl. I'll finish it off by saying, fellas, I mean, these are clearly the 2 best teams in the NFC, like unquestionably. It's going to be an absolute slugfest. Like Frank said, I think this is going to come down to the wire. This might be just a big time, dramatic, action-packed slugfest, physical, hard-nosed football game.
Are you ready, Baller? Are you ready? You want to hang for the final 5 minutes of Terradome after the commercials?
Hell yeah, I do.
All right, let's do
Hell
that.
yeah, baller.
We'll play the commercials right here. We'll be back in a minute with Terradome on the Krueg Show.
Larry Kruger here for Telmetrics. Thanks to Casey Bateman and the good people at Telmetrics. If you're an occupational therapist, if you're an orthopedic surgeon, a chiropractor, a physical therapist of any kind, Telmetrics is designed for you to use in your practice and will greatly benefit your patients. Telmetrics uses computer vision and artificial intelligence and provides a platform for outpatient rehab therapy services, both in the clinical and the telehealth environments. So using Telmetrics can improve your patient's experience and much more. So for all your sports injury needs, or if you're a physical rehabilitation specialist of any kind, make sure you use telmetrics.co, TELMETRIX.co. And thanks to Casey Bateman and all the good people at Telmetrics for being a proud sponsor of the Krueg. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Dan Coach Emilio. Dan is a buddy, and he is a phenomenal retirement planning specialist. And you can contact him today at securemoney.com or at his number 925-628-9966. There's a lot of uncertainty in our world right now, and you want to make sure that your money is secure. That is the key. Danny's got 25 years of experience, born and raised right here in the Bay Area, and he can help you get an immediate 10% premium bonus on your principal retirement account. So give him a call, 925-628-9966. He'll make an appointment with you, and you can sit down. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of a deal. He'll consult with you and come up with a strategy to get you going to where you want to be. Once again, 925-628-9966, securemoney.com on the web. And thanks to Tony Casera and the good people at Casera's Italian Menswear. They are housing the Krueg Show t-shirts, and they're a proud sponsor of the show as well. The Krueg Show t-shirt, the Krueg Show podcast t-shirt is available there at their store in Dublin. Their address is 7372 San Ramon Road in Dublin, California. And go see Tony Casera and get yourself a Krueg Show t-shirt and support the show. And special thanks to our sponsor, New York Style Italian Sausage. That's right, NewYorkStyleSausage.com is their website. Phenomenal product, whether it's the breakfast sausage, the Italian mild, the Italian spicy, the chorizo. You cannot go wrong with New York Style Italian Sausage. Once again, NewYorkStyleSausage.com. Often imitated, never equaled.
We grew up with a Sunday dinner. That means no matter how busy you were, no matter where the hell you were, you came to dinner on a Sunday night. Yeah, Sunday dinner without sausage, it's like a church without God. You know, how can you go to church if you don't believe in God? You know, and along with the sausage also became the discussions. That was discussion night. You know, it wasn't a typical family that you sit there and you're quiet, you know, and you don't talk with a mouthful. Oh no, man. Italians talk when they're eating. Italians even talk when they're sleeping. And definitely we talk with our hands. So if we can't express it through our mouth, through our lips, we express it with our hands. So, and that's what sausage is, really. It's an expression, you know, that life is good.
All right, welcome back to the Krueg Show on a Wednesday night. And we've had Frank Red, we've had Danny, we've had Rye, we've had Barry a Baller, we've had Carl Foster, and now we welcome to the stream a man who is billowing smoke in the green room, a man who's hit his vape harder than anybody would ever hit anything anywhere. I saw more hitting than I saw from the entire Giant lineup the entire baseball season. There were more hits in this last commercial break billowing from Terra Dome than have billowed from Gabe Kapler's lineup. With that being said, we go to the man. Can you take one more monster hit so we can really? There we go. Look at that.
Is that a vape or a?
That's a vape. That's the Fume Infinity.
Are you speaking with a T-Point? Are you speaking with a T?
So I'm a,
Do you have a T-Pain filter on?
No, I don't. Does it sound like it?
A little bit. Do you guys hear that a little bit?
When I think of Terra Dome, I think of Cheech Marin and Up in Smoke.
How's that?
There we go.
There we go.
There we go.
Now you're sounding like.
I kind of liked it though, but now you sound great.
I know. I hate the T-Pain thing. My people say, "Oh man, he sounds like T-Pain." I'm like, I'm speaking some serious issues here. I don't need to sound like T-Pain.
He said, "Woodpit,
wonderful to see
clouds, bro.
Yeah.
Fat clouds.
Krueg.
Can we get one more? One more. There we go. And can you blow it out through the nose?
Oh,
look at that. I mean, it takes me back to Laramie Tunsil on draft night with the gas mask. You guys remember?
Yes.
Yes.
It cost him some serious money.
It cost him some money, but guess what, man? That guy can flat out play. I don't care if he's huffing through 5 gas masks. Laramie Tunsil can flat out block. I'll take that guy right now.
Yes, sir.
What's going on, Terra Dome? What are you thinking of the live stream tonight?
Wonderful to see my man. You guys are heroes to me. Smitty, Krueg, Dan had to go. I love Dan the man. I was telling my wife because she saw me on the last time I was on.
Right.
I said, it's a dude named Dan that comes on, man, and he's always eating. Dan has a hot dog or something like that. She said, Who are those people? And I said, they're legends. Just trust me, babe. They're legends. And the Bay Area baller is in the hizzle for shizzle. What's up, my brother? How you doing? What you rocking? Some Golden State Warriors? You got some Golden State Warriors?
Right. That's right. This is my go-to
See?
Warriors jacket. I got the patches on there. I put on some extra patches.
Oh, look
a couple
at that.
more
That's
that I
good
still
looking.
got to get. I got my Wiseman jersey on because I don't know how many more times I can wear it. But hey, it's an exciting time to be a Bay Area sports
that
fan.
thing's gonna be at TJ Maxx soon.
Yeah.
Mole has weighed in. He says, I might know something about fat clouds. Yes. Yes, Jimmy. We know, Jimmy.
Man, I am so enthusiastic. I am so ready. I was just on Rombo Sports. Shout out to Rombo. Rombo had me on, man, and I tried to shut it down, and I'm going to try to shut this one down. Prayers for everyone affected by the storm that's happened, the storms that have happened recently, and also I understand on national news there were some shootings. The thief. The Bible says the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but I come that you would have life and have it more abundantly. I'm praying for the families affected. I'm praying for everyone within the sound of my voice and those who will see this on into perpetuity. We need peace. There's a peace that surpasses all understanding, and that is the peace in Jesus Christ. I pray for you. I pray for your healing. I pray for your welfare, your being, in Jesus' name. Amen. Krueg?
Yeah.
Boy, if we ain't on the same vein and the same vector, them Giants, man, if they didn't peeve me off, because I go back and I look at the film, man. I look at the all 22s.
Yeah.
I dig on this stuff. I some people will go and buy a Harley. Some people will go and do some other things and use their money to go to the strip club and make it rain or whatever. I'm just in here watching film, man.
And we ain't judging them. Let them watch. Hey, if they want to go to Cheetahs and have a 2-drink minimum, I'll drink $7.95.
I've been 26. I've been 27. I know what you do. It's all good. I'm going to give you my hypothesis on why we lost in Atlanta and we had a hard time in Vegas. We'll talk about that. I think I sent you a little something on that. But those Giants didn't even show up, man. They were just pushed around. They just didn't even care. They were happy to get a check. They mailed it in. And from that, because the New York media is the epicenter of all that is media, everybody think the Philadelphia Eagles are insurmountable. They think Jalen Hurts runs a 4.1. AJ Brown runs a 3.9 40. They think that everybody will succumb to the great Philadelphia Eagles. They just can't be beat. They're just, oh my God. Oh, they got fast receivers. Oh, they got 6 pros. Oh my God. Politically correct, we call it y'all being a little punkified. Y'all being a little sissified. This here is the San Francisco 49ers. We don't go against just being number one in the NFL. We're not matching up against 31 teams. We're chasing history. We're chasing the 08 Steelers. We're chasing the 85 Bears. We're chasing the 2000 Ravens. We're chasing the 02 Buccaneers in a pass-happy league where the quarterback gets protected and there's such rules as a defenseless receiver. The San Francisco 49ers were in the range of 13 points per game. I'm not sure if everybody realizes that, man. Yeah, the teachers used to say that they graded on a curve. They graded on a curve. This is a pass-happy league, and DeMeco Ryan had Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, Talanoa Hufanga, Jimmy Ward, Travarius Ward pitching on a 13-point per game scale. We play D around here. If I can go gangster, the Apostle Paul spoke about 8 languages, and he could speak to anyone in their language in the biblical times. I'm gonna speak gangster to you, Philadelphia Eagles. Chicago and Cincinnati. We got Cincinnati Red. We got Kansas City Slim. Frisco Red is coming to your town. He be there around 3:00 Eastern. He say he want his money, and you better have it. Coming with this D, and I ain't playing, my man. I ain't playing. Have my money ready. Have my money ready. Come 3:00 Eastern Daylight Savings Time. I'm coming with that real, and I'm getting what I need to get so I can make my date to Glendale, Arizona. Frisco Red coming, brother. He bringing Brock Purdy. He bringing Warner. He bringing Nick Bosa, and he bringing his boys. Get your stuff right. Get your stuff right. You think for one moment that I am afraid of AJ Brown when I face Cooper Kupp 2 times a year? You think for one moment I am afraid of AJ Brown when I face DK Metcalf 2 or 3 times a year? Not only did we sweep them, we vacuumed them with a dirt devil. I got the dirt devil in the back. DeAndre Hopkins has
D-Hop.
like Chris Carter. I see him 2 times a year. Do you think for one moment that I'm afraid of AJ Brown? We face Matt Stafford 2 times a year. We face what's the little Mike down in Arizona? What's his name?
Kyler
Murray.
Shifty is literally he's the hardest to tackle in the league.
Do you think for one time that Jalen Hurts is as quick as Murray and I face him 2 times a year? Are you as efficient as Geno Smith? Are you
okay? All right. Maybe. Okay.
Geno Smith threw for I think it was 70%.
He was damn good this year.
1 minute, I am afraid of the Philadelphia Eagles.
I'm ready to run through a wall right now.
We are ready.
A lot of blood flow.
We are ready. We are tried and tested. We go to the NFC Championship virtually literally the last 3 out of 4 years.
Every year, either Jimmy's been healthy or they've had Brock Purdy.
This is where we live, young man. You think your coach, and let me go Suge Knight on him for a minute.
Uh-oh.
Anybody who want to be a star.
Is this the Source Awards?
Yeah, this is Source Awards right here, Krueg. Man, my Krueg. Shout out to Krueg, man. Y'all hit that like and subscribe for Krueg. Anybody who want to be a star.
And Baller, by the way. Bay Area Baller 18. Go join Bay Area Baller's channel.
Too.
Like and subscribe. Subscribe to Baller, everybody.
Please.
And Terradome, do you got your own channel?
I don't. Everybody says I should.
Down, man.
But let me get this. Anybody who want to be a star and don't want their coach all on the video,
all up in
all
there,
on the camera, all on the microphone, come to San Francisco and be a star. You think I'm afraid of Bradbury? He made all pro and shout out to, if I got the clapping sound, thanks. Hey, Bradbury, that was real good. But I am here at Fort Jump Boots, Fort Bragg, North Carolina. I know what you are, really. You were a Carolina Panther. They gave you up to go to the New York Giants. And then the New York Giants cut you in midstream. You had a little axe to grind, a little facts to prove against the New York Giants. And let me be remiss if I don't talk about them New York Giants. You could have gotten me the number 1 seed and home field throughout, but you rested them little pretty boys, which was a real punkified move, real sissified. I seen them on the sidelines with their jackets on and stuff. I can't play, we already got. We got what we got. Ain't no need in doing that. All right. Y'all could have won against Philadelphia, week 18. Don't think I forgot. I owe you next year. But as far as this year,
they finished the season. Let's see. They finished the season 2-5. The Giants.
Come on, man. And then beat up on the Vikings, who were paper champions at best. At best. If you look back at your history, look at the last 10 years. With the exception of Philadelphia in 18. And they had a great year in 18. Nick Foles came in there and handled some business. But the NFC representative will come from two conferences, the NFC South or the NFC West. You think for 1 minute, y'all been beating up on the Cowboys, y'all been beating up on the Commodores or Commanders or G.I. Joe Commander.
Oh no. Commanders actually beat them this year, actually.
Hey, let's not rip the Commodores, man. I love the Commodores.
Boom. Lionel Richie is not walking through that building.
I used to play Brick House all the time at the pizza place as a kid.
Brick House will shut them down in karaoke. If any of y'all ever want to win karaoke, Brick House, man. Brick House.
Good call.
If I'm there, don't play Brick House because I'm taking Brick House. Brick House wins at karaoke every time. Every time.
The movie that makes me laugh is House Guest with the late Phil Hartman and Sinbad when they start singing Brick House. When Phil Hartman starts singing Brick House.
Oh, I remember there was a great Brick House in the last movie.
It was so awesome.
Man, when that thing dropped, that boom, 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 boom.
Throw the T-Pain back on.
If y'all ever want to win karaoke, play Brick House.
Terradome, we're out. Give me one last thought on Niners. Give me one reason the Niners are beating the Eagles, and then we're getting out.
It's so many, but I will throw this one at you. We are tried and tested, battle tested and true. We will stomp over you and your mama to get this ring. Michael Jordan used to pack for game 6, and he didn't even take but one suit. He used to tell him, hey, I'm packing one suit. That's it. Let's go and get this. There will not be a game 7. And for you Philadelphia Eagles, there will not be a tomorrow. You're going to be burning your jerseys after this one Sunday. Frisco Red coming. He'll be there at 3 o'clock up in Philly. Have his money ready.
I got never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me, getting handled. I answer to no one, I don't need to hassle.